to the School Building Committee, the Georgetown Middle High School project for Tuesday, March 24th, 2015. The purpose of the meeting this evening is to review and approve the general contractor that we'll be using for the renovation at the high school. Courtney, would you like to present the list that we have? Or do you want Pat?
I could go ahead and present the comparison. What we handed out is the bid tabulation, the formal bid tabulation. There were a total of 9 contractors that showed up to bid on the project, which is a very good turnout. All of the contractors are listed in order from the lowest amount up to the highest, so there is one on the back side of your sheet as well for the highest. Keep in mind the budget was $5.861 million, so everything on this sheet was actually under budget, which is great. And if you actually look at how close it is from the first one to the last one, all of the bids were really tight together, which is good because that means they all read the drawings the same way, interpreted things the same way. So we'll let municipal explain their sheet, but we wanted to say, there's a good turnout, a good bid number that came in. We weren't expecting it to be quite that good, but we will we'll work with them during construction to make sure everything's taken care of.
Okay.
And most of the underrun had to do with the GC, because the file sub bids, if you remember, they were close.
Yeah.
I think they were $20,000-$30,000 apart on
They-
that roughly 3.2 million. So most of the underrun is all in the GC's category.
Yeah,
So
if you look at items 1 and 2 under the comments, item 1 is the GC number, item 2 is the actual filed sub bid number.
And then how that translates, if you look at the summary sheet that we did, Chuck did today, if you look at that, it just takes the approved budget, and this is the approved budget at MSBA. This is the scope and budget agreement on the left-hand side where it says budget approved with the warrant article. And you'll notice in there is the number that Courtney mentioned, that in that 7,805,726 is a construction figure of 5,861,090. And everything else basically stays the same. If you move to the right, you have a revised budget with the amendments of 5,121,622. If you carry that all the way down, you can see, that there's a substantial savings. And we've right now, for the sake of discussion, most of that money's been right now accrued into the contingency just to balance the 7,805. But again, that will change once MSBA obviously gets involved. They'll rewrite the whole package. They'll rewrite it down for these dollars once this gets plugged in.
You have to take the lowest bid? Is that
Do you have to? No, you don't have to. But in this case, we would strongly recommend that you do.
instead of somebody that's nearby?
Nearby would never cut the mustard. It would have to be someone, you'd have to actually disqualify someone for not being qualified to do the job. And
That's not that far away,
Russo is, Russo is qualified.
Yeah, it's only an hour.
Proximity to the site
45
really has
minutes.
nothing to do with the award.
Close to the Newburyport?
Yeah.
And what is this, is that alternate 1 and then alternate 2? What's the,
We
what are
were
those?
gonna get to that after we get to the award.
Okay,
Once the award is made, then you can decide on which alternates, if any, you wanna take. So you would make the award to the contractor for the contract amount, and then we can talk about the alternates, and you can choose to add those on, which would modify their ultimate contract.
Okay, so would you recommend, what is your recommendation?
Oh,
for the
yeah, our
committee?
recommendation is that we would recommend Russo. Courtney and DRA's done a checkout. We've worked with them in the past and had good results. Courtney's follow-up has indicated good results, and there's no reason to find them unqualified.
We did reference checks. The sheet that I handed out earlier has reference checks for 2 different projects. We spoke with architects, owners, project managers. They had pretty high results on everything. And Jim, you had asked why they had, they rated from 1 to 5, 5 being the best. And for most of these, you'll see 4s and 5s. You'll see 3s every once in a while. And the only reason you see 3s is because sometimes it's a filed sub bid issue, and there's certain subs that are known for being unreasonably priced. It's like, for example, some electric subs are, very high subs. So they only had a couple changes, and those were the same electric subs. The project schedule is related to the fact that it was a very tough winter for a lot of contractors. And sequencing and scheduling wasn't, they didn't anticipate the amount of snow that they had, so, for example, if you don't schedule if you don't schedule the roofing before January
Right.
31st, a lot of people were in trouble, so that's why you see, some lower numbers like the threes. But overall, it was very good. Everyone that we spoke with and, received email feedback from, they had all good comments.
No, they didn't wanna fill out the punch list?
Some of these don't have a punch list yet. Some of them are still in progress. The actual Gardner Police Station, their punch list was starting soon after actually we had the conversation last week. So if I call them in a couple weeks, I'd probably get better feedback on that.
We've actually I've worked with 5 of these contractors in the past. And I would say Russo is right in with the 5 that we've worked with. There's probably one that's would have a little higher ranking, but there's nothing in there to disqualify the others, So we've worked, like I said, with 5 of them. Chuck has worked with the other one that I haven't worked with. So again, like I said, we've got a pretty good handle on what the competition is, yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions about any of these contractors?
Maybe I missed it. On comments, what are items 1 and 2?
Item 1 is the general bids number, and then item 2 is the filed sub bids.
Okay.
Which explains why a lot of them are the same for item 2, because they all pulled the same filed sub bids. Some of them had like if Colangeli was one of the generals that had a lot of filed sub bids, so they excluded every other contractor but themselves, so their number will be different than, like LD Russo's.
Okay.
So this
Make a
isn't the
motion.
vote on the alternatives,
Not-
just,
Not
no,
yet.
no,
Not
this
yet.
is
We have to do the
general.
contractor first.
Once you select the contractor, then we'll move it to the alternates.
Make a motion that we accept LD Russo Incorporated for the Georgetown Middle High School renovation project.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do we have to say the amount?
Yeah,
For
Yeah.
$5,121,622 contract amount.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I guess we'll be,
if you look at the alternates, I can
Moving
let
forward?
Courtney run through the alternates and explain what the alternates are, and then we can all give you our comments and go
Great.
from there.
There were 2 different alternates that we presented during the design. One was brought up during meetings with the school. The science classrooms that are in the back of the school, the physics room and chemistry rooms, I forget the other one. What's the other one up there? Biology. Those 3 rooms have glass block windows right now, so,
How many total windows?
pardon?
How many total windows and what sizes?
There's 3 to 4 windows in each room, and they're large size windows. They're probably about 12 feet wide, I would say. I don't have the number off the
They're
top
all the
of my
ones
head.
down below here, right?
Yeah, you can see a picture of them
Right,
down low.
Quite a few.
So this alternate not only includes putting a new storefront or a new curtain wall system in, but also replacing the HVAC, the little equipment that's within those windows. So that's why you have a number that's pretty high here. It's not just the window and the window framing, it's 2 filed sub bids that are involved in this. And the pricing is actually, it's higher than what we anticipated during bid. You can kind of, I did a little comparison where we estimated the science classrooms would be 100,000. It actually came in at 158. So it was 58,000 over what we anticipated.
well, I have a question. I'm assuming the glass blocks were placed for safety reasons because the windows are so close to the ground.
Right.
How are we gonna ensure these don't break if we put windows in there?
Well, what we do with any windows that are close to the ground, we do tempered and laminated glass. And the other benefit here is we're actually it's not gonna be a drastic change, but we're actually regrading the pavement too, to slope away from the building a little bit more. So you're not gonna have the same condition where things are piling up next to the windows the way it is now, with leaves and stuff.
What about snow?
There's 2 rooms. There's 3 rooms in all. One of them has regular, so one of them has glass in it already. And I'd like to just say that these two rooms that we're talking about, they have never been touched in any of the renovations that have gone on in that building.
Have you ever had a problem with the windows in the one room? That not breaking or snow piling up and becoming a problem?
No.
I mean, that's really the biggest concern because they're literally right on the ground.
Right, and what we do with the sill conditions, we do special continuous welded end dams so that we ensure that if any, water does get in there, it actually has a continuous metal
Backup.
piece.
Yeah, it's good design.
It's in terms of flashing to allow the water to come right back out.
Okay.
So this will bring, I mean, the main purpose of this is to bring light,
Natural
natural
light.
Right,
light into the rooms to make them really more usable.
more usable and
Yeah.
views
So-
outside too.
I think it's huge.
Okay, so that's alternate one. And then what is alternate two?
Alternate two is also associated with glazing and science rooms, although the base bid, there are several skylights. I think there's 4 skylights in each of the science rooms on the 3rd floor. And there's a total of 3 rooms up there.
And they're really huge, right?
They're 4x7. And so those actually have screen doors hanging in right now to block the light. So what we proposed as an alternate, keep in mind the base bid is roofing over them and getting rid of the skylights entirely. The alternate is to add new skylights back in, but we're doing a translucent aluminum frame skylight. So it's not gonna be the double dome system that you have now. And that's also a tempered glass, and it actually has to have safety railing around it too, so. So you don't see blue sky necessarily, it's
It's
more
just
of a
the light.
translucent.
Are these interior rooms that don't have any other outside windows?
Correct.
And do we need the skylights?
You don't need the skylights, but they are nice to have daylight in the space.
Will there be improved lighting in the classroom if the skylights
If the
aren't
skylights
functional?
are roofed over, then we have to look at the light levels in there and see if no lighting was added back in, because the lighting in there is designed for the space already, so.
Well, but the base bid was to take them out,
To
right?
take them out, and then we're just putting a ceiling infill where those skylights are.
And so is the lighting good enough in there right now?
The lighting in there is good enough right
Okay.
now. So.
How's it gonna handle the snow?
The new skylights?
Yeah.
They are actually a sloped frame, so you won't have to worry about snow piling on them the way you do now.
What
See,
if
I
we
think-
had,
go
right, the
ahead.
large volumes of snow we had now? No matter what, it's still gonna pile on there.
Well,
at
if
some
you had,
point.
yes, if you had a winter like this winter, then you have,
So they're gonna be-
it is
So
a
they're covered anyways.
maintenance item.
I think that, I mean, I love skylights. If you can look out and see blue and clouds and whatever's going by, once you make them translucent,
It's a light,
it might as well be a fluorescent light up there,
right?
in my book. So I would not, personally, I wouldn't support the item number 2.
It sounds like the teachers don't really want it either because at least what they have now.
Yeah, they're blocking it.
They're
Right,
blocking,
they need
the
to
blocking the
block
light,
it,
which is
you know,
why we
probably
didn't do
heating the
clear.
classroom
It's
substantially,
hard when they're using projectors
right?
because of the light.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've put actual shades to close off skylights before for that reason for projectors, but
Right.
they always break. So
And they're using the projectors a lot
Never
more
had
now
luck.
in everyday teaching.
Yeah, all the
So
time, yeah,
it's
yeah.
really,
yeah.
especially in a science lab, there's a lot that goes on. I think a science lab needs to be able to control their own lighting better. All right, so does anyone want to make a proposal?
Well, I have another question though first. The base bid is 5.12, and we have 5.86. If we did take number 1, it'd be 5.28 about. So that still leaves us over $500,000 under budget, right?
If you look at the sheet that Chuck did at the very bottom, it has alternate 1, the alternate amount, and it shows you the difference in the savings, what happens there.
Yeah, so you-
Right now, we're under bid on the base bid, $739,468.
So
You
we'll
go
have,
down below,
581.
alternate 1, shows you what happens there, and then alternate 2 shows you what happens
so we'd
there.
have $581
if you take-
$1,000 under budget, which
If you
is
if you
great.
take alternate 1, which is, as good as it gets.
And this 170 contingency, that's what's recommended, or that's what you think, MS?
That's what we carried, and they did not discount it. We just carried that as an owner's contingency for whatever happens in the non-construction categories. FF, whatever, whether it's FF&E, or whether it's technology, or whether you just don't use it and don't bond it. Yeah.
And out of that 5.81 that's left over, what happens to that actually? Is that still left for contingency, or is it?
That is,
Totally gone.
they're gonna rewrite the whole arrangement. MSBA now will take this, and whatever we decide, they're gonna rewrite the total deal with the town.
They did that with
They'll
Pembroke
simply
too.
lower that, the figure that you see there, the 7,805,000.
Yeah.
That now is gonna be 7,805,000 less whatever we picked up in savings. And then they'll do the analysis again. They'll take the contingencies out, they'll rewrite it based on the base bid. They'll tell you have a maximum, the contingency categories, you might be able to get as much as X if they fall into appropriate categories. And they'll just rewrite the whole,
Okay, we also have construction contingency too, right?
that's right.
So that's good. Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't see that one when I was
Yeah,
asking
yeah,
this.
that's always the bigger one over the owner's
No, just,
contingency.
yeah, the 170 just was really concerning. I didn't see
Yeah.
the other one. Okay.
It's not the same either. Right. They don't, they don't.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, yeah.
This
yeah.
bid savings of $740,000.
Right.
If you never touch it,
Right, right.
they just won't want it.
Right, right.
You don't bid it.
Now,
you
these
don't bond it,
alternatives,
you
are
don't
these etched in stone, the prices that we got from
Yes.
this company?
Yeah.
And
Well,
did they equal the
I think we
price
should
that
take-
you estimated? Did you estimate too?
Yeah, no, they're way over our prices
So
too.
the
Yeah.
blue numbers are
Yeah.
what our estimates were.
Yeah.
So
So is it-
actually, no, the blue
Did
ones
we
are
have
where.
two
it came in.
companies estimate that, like your
Yes.
company,
That's right,
and they were over on both?
over on both.
Over on both,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
The other thing, Courtney makes a good point, you should understand, MSBA does not reimburse for alternates.
Right.
Because they consider that you don't really need it, it's an alternate, right? So they don't reimburse for alternates. when
So
they
that's why
rewrite
it
the
comes
whole
off
deal-
the 700, because directly, right?
Yeah, and when they rewrite it, they're gonna, that'll be an item that they'll show in the excluded category.
Right.
I would like to make a motion that we accept alternate number 1, which is the replacement of the installation of new glass windows in lieu of the glass block for $158,000.
Not to exceed.
Not to, well, that's, is
That'll
that,
be fixed, yeah, that'll
That's a
be,
fixed
that's
number.
gonna be
That's a
part of their
fixed.
contract.
yeah, that's a
yeah.
fixed number, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
A second.
So are you gonna try and negotiate this figure down?
You can't,
No,
no,
that's
everything's
it.
fixed,
That's
that's
it.
it, that's it. It's a take it or leave it at this point.
Okay.
yeah.
All
You
right,
gotta do 1 before you do
Yeah.
2.
any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1. Okay, motion carries. Pete,
Yeah,
yeah,
Peter, yeah,
Did
okay.
the town do this on their own?
no,
No, I'm not saying the town do it, but I'm saying hire a company to do it, because it just seems to me it's, over half of your estimate, it's over. What two people estimated, and then they came in, and, the alternatives.
I'll give you my take on why I think the numbers are so high. This is a very, very tight schedule, and Chuck and I were discussing that today, and I think we both feel the same way. That they've obviously priced this very high, and we think a portion of that increase in price has to do with the schedule. This work has to be, again, we've got a very tight schedule, and we're asking them to do more in this. So I think they obviously got nervous about it, and I think everybody said, if we're gonna do these alternates, we're putting them into a job that's already a very tight schedule. So I think they wanna get paid for that. And they wanna have a little in there, I wouldn't be surprised if they carried some liquidated damages, so if they ran late, that it's gonna be buried in that number. That's our speculative analysis based on the numbers being so high.
The good thing is that they're ordering windows and they're already, they've got units that they're doing for
Yeah.
HVAC, so the actual materials that they're getting shouldn't take longer than what we would anticipate for the rest of the items in the base bid.
Well, also, you have 9 people that bid it, and they're the second lowest. on
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
alternate.
That's
Yeah,
right, yeah.
they don't seem to be
So-
that high.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you better get some new estimators.
Well, they will have to look at they'll have to look at the components. I think they're factoring other things in here that, free market is always, that's like the numbers. We come in way low on the GC number,
Yeah.
because people were really hungry, but they were so low, they wanna make sure that they're not boxing some jumps in. So they're very, very low on the GC side. But if we're gonna be putting more work in, man, we gotta be careful we don't overrun, and we're concerned about any liquidated damages. So I think that there's a consequence to the fact that we're asking them to do more work on a schedule that's already very tight.
When are they looking to start April vacation?
Yeah.
April
Yeah.
20th.
But again, as we've said over and over again, the important part of starting this job early isn't starting in the gymnasium. It's gonna be a help, they're gonna get some people there, get the feel of the job, the whole bit. It's the procurement part, getting the shop drawings done, because when we're out of school, they've gotta really hit this thing running. We can't be fiddling around. We wanna make sure they've got their products are all gonna be there. These windows are gonna be, you're talking about probably 2 months to get them. Well, that's great. We're starting in April. They get time to do shop drawings, fabrication, so when you're ready in the job, the material's there. And that's why it was important to get this job awarded right away, is to give them the procurement time. Because they've got to go out and buy other non-file subbid subcontractors and materials. They've got to submit everything for approval. Once they're approved, they got to get the fabrication going. Well, this is going to all be happening while we do some work in the gymnasium, but the important part is going to be done off-site
Yep.
in the procurement and fabrication area.
So, I'd like to probably move on to the next one now too, which is alternate number 2. I'd like to make the motion that we reject alternate number 2 for added skylights on the roof at the cost of $128,000.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, well, that's great. I think putting windows down there is a wonderful idea.
So we are, just for the record, we are $581,468 under budget.
That's correct.
Yay!
No,
That's great news.
Yeah.
That's terrific, yeah.
great news.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we can get both of these projects done under budget, we're good.
We are good.
Will the
All right.
windows open? There'll be opening windows?
There are operable portions, but they're the higher
Yep.
portions of the window.
There is one other item. We have a PSS that I would like to bring for a vote. It's to approve the conform drawing production and the conform specification production. Courtney explained that this will allow them to address questions that come up during the bidding processes.
It incorporates all the addenda, which is our response, and it's part of the contract documents. It's our response to bidding questions and things that may have been missed on the bid set. So there were a total of 5 addenda that were issued. Some were very small, some were larger. A lot of them, there were some mechanical things. I think almost every trade had something in there. But those items were incorporated into these addenda that were issued to all the bidders during the bidding process. So what we're offering to do is compile it electronically, not only in the drawings, but in the specifications too. So there's 2 line items on there. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it was $1,000 for the drawings. And it's really about our time compiling and working with our consultants and getting everything printed and put on new title blocks. And then the specifications are a little bit more labor intensive because we want to make sure everything stays with the same page number, and we're adding in, sentences and certain things in certain pages. So we have to go through and be it's a tedious job, but it's worth it actually for the contractor to be able to see everything on the contract documents, on large documents, versus having them paste it into the set. Which
I
is
know
what
that
they usually do, is they they'll cut things out and paste it into the set. Cause
So we shouldn't get any changes.
I'm not guaranteeing that. You're in a renovation. So,
I know, being in the profession, this is essential, because you want to start out with a set that's
Yep.
right, and otherwise you're scrambling from the beginning, so I would highly recommend this. It sounds like a reasonable cost too, so.
What's the cost?
What is it?
The
1,000?
drawing production is 1,000 and the specification production is 3,500 for a total of $4,950. Would anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions?
What
This
are
comes
the,
out of
what are the
this
2
money
numbers
here.
again?
Yeah.
$1,000 and 3,500.
Contingency.
That's
Oh, yeah, come out of,
4,500.
yes, exactly.
Specifications.
4,950.
Oh, four.
Come out of something.
Yeah, where'd the 50 come from?
No.
George is right.
George, is there a markup?
I love
Is there a markup?
There's an extra
so good at
$50 in
that.
there.
Oh, you can edit it. And
Oh, okay.
What are the 2 numbers?
It's
Oh, I
1,000
see.
and 3,500.
Reimbursable
No.
Oh,
There's
it's
more
like
than that.
$4,500.
$450 extra.
$450 in the,
is it including the markup?
does it say including the
Includes
markup?
DRA markup.
It includes
10%.
CRA's markup,
Yeah,
that's
it's a
why.
10%, so you
Oh,
multiply whatever the amount is by
Okay.
1.5.
Good with that.
The markup of what? What do you mark up? The
We-
35 or the full? You mark
The
up
total the total additional services, we mark up, actually, it's been standard on every
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
we do
Okay.
a
So it's a
10%
total. It's
markup.
not just. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
That adds up.
So
then.
the total for PS number 10 is $4,950. Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you, our next meeting will take place over at Pembroke. We're gonna do the tour prior
Is that
to the meeting.
Next week or 2 weeks? from
2
now?
weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, so we will send out, I believe we agreed to do the tour a little later,
Yeah.
Is that
so that people can
6:30?
get there. It's at 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if we scheduled the meeting for 7, yes, we must, I think we're gonna schedule the meeting for 7:30 in the Pembroke Library. So if you don't wanna go on the tour,
The existing Pembroke.
right,
Yes.
not the new
Yeah.
library,
You can't meet in the new one.
no. So if you wanna go, do not choose to go on the tour, the meeting's at 7:30, Pembroke Library. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in-
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming out on a special
Congratulations.
night. Yes,
Yeah, that's
did
nice.
you say you're
Thank
meeting
you
with them
guys. Great
tomorrow?
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
It's an informal. Then there'll be a formal pre-construction meeting.
Tell Carl. Tell Carl also. Nice job.
Will do. He couldn't be here tonight, he's out in Pittsfield right now.
Oh, I'd rather be here.
It's quite a drive out to
It's a
Pittsfield.
long
Must be
ride.
skiing. Is he out there on a ski trip?
Yeah, he
Is it on the
wishes.
7th?
No, it's, the vocational high school out there.
He must have went to
George.
Springfield today for the
Call the meetings
groundbreaking,
over.
for the casino.
I'm gonna accuse him of that.
Yeah.
So that would be the 7th of April.
No, it's the 14th.
It's